All right, so moving on to the truth tables for conditional and biconditional statements, we're going to go ahead and start with conditional. Here, every time you see this little symbol, right, which is an arrow going from left to right, that means conditional, and we read it as if P, then Q. The way to solve this, or the way to find the truth value, is that you have to remember this. This statement, a conditional statement, is only going to be false when the first statement is true and the second statement is false. So just remember that. So whenever you have a true, if true, then false, this is the only one that's going to result in a false statement. That's what you have to remember. Anything else is always going to be true. So again, just remember, conditional, this is the only one that's going to be false. So with that being said, we can complete the truth table. So if true, then true. That's actually true. That's okay. If true, then false. This one's the one that should give you a little light bulb and be like, okay, this one's the one that's going to be false, right? We can never have a conditional statement go from true to false. This is the only one that's going to be false. So if false, then true. That's perfectly fine. That's true. If false and false, as weird as it sounds, that's also true. Okay, so for conditional statements, just remember, this is the only one that's going to end up resulting in a false statement. So if true, then false. That's the only one that's false. Okay, that's the trick to filling up this conditional table. Just remember, this is the only case that we're going to have a false. Everything else is true. Now for biconditional, this one's actually a little simpler. For biconditional, you're always going to have a truth value when both have the same truth value. So if they're both true or if they're both false, we're going to have a true statement. If they're different, then it's going to be false. You could think about this as a little balance, right? They have to be balanced out. Both truth values, if they're balanced out, it's going to be true. If they're not balanced out, then it's going to be false. The way you read this symbol, the double arrow is if and only if. All right, so let's give this a try. True, if and only if true. They're both balanced out, so that is true. True, if and only if false. That is not balanced out, so that is false. False, if and only if true. That is not balanced out, so that one's also false. And then false, if and only if false. They're both false, they're both balanced out, so this one is true. Okay, so in summary, let's just go back to the previous one. Conditional statement is always true, except when we have if true, then false. That's the only one that is false. For biconditional, again, it's a balance. Whenever they're the same, we have a true statement. Whenever they're different, we have a false statement. That's all you have to remember.